And they tell me, and I said, that's not for her, and it's for the room next door. You don't have an advocate in the room with you.
Here, Dr. Bartlett.
Well, I'm telling you the truth. A family member in the room is an advocate that you are not allowed to have right now. But the decisions that are made that are being forced on us, for 20 years we'd see there's an epidemic in China and we see people walking in the streets with masks. It wasn't working for them then. I don't know why it's being forced on the whole world now, that kind of thinking. Something that's working in Japan and Singapore and is working with my patients, we should be focused on science and facts instead of fear.
There's some sort of manipulation toward encouraging America to just wait it out for a vaccine. I don't know if it's the pharmaceutical companies, if it's individuals in power invested in the pharmaceutical companies, but who would be telling Americans we'd rather you die because we want you to wait for a vaccine?
It seems like people are willing to sacrifice others for an agenda. It seems that way to me because we have some solutions already that are working. There's a track record of success by many doctors in Texas. And Texas is standing out compared to other states if you look as far as the survival rate. But you know, I think there is a lot of political motivation behind the decisions that are being made right now.
Okay, well, I do too, and I'm deeply troubled by them because I do, well, you don't have to agree with my assessment, but I'll tell you where my concern is. I think that in the first 5 today, I talked about the headlines and that, you know, panic porn. I think there's a great agenda on the part of some in this country and many in the media that want to keep the economy damaged because of the results of the coronavirus, want to keep Americans afraid in their homes. All of that works against the re-election of President Trump.
Be afraid, be very afraid, because there's a pandemic. Oh, by the way, Debbie, we had a pandemic in 2009. It was the H1N1. And you know what? The flu strain and you know what? The flu strain that's going around right now is H1N1. Our patients that have the flu are having H1N1. We're not focused on that at all. It's not as big a deal as they thought it was. But you know what? I just saw an article that Anthony Fauci's warning us that we might have a new pandemic coming of H1N1 from China. It's already here. That's the strain that's already here. A lot of things that are being spoken, there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of things that are being blown out of proportion. And we have good news today. I'm here to tell you the good news.
I know, it's thrilling news.
Yes, that's what they did in Italy in over 30,000 deaths. That's what they did in France, over 30,000 deaths. That's what they did in Spain, 30,000 deaths. In New York, parroted that, 30,000 deaths. Let's go with a winning strategy of early detection and early treatment with a winning strategy of a successful treatment. And that's what we have. We have an effective treatment that's cost effective, readily available at every pharmacy. You know, if you look on the internet, you'll see in Japan, they're still crawling all over at each other at sushi bars, acting normal, and they have less than 1,000 that have died, over 121 million people. This social distancing thing is not what is saving them. When you have the government saying, I know more about what's good for your health than your doctor who knows you and your family, that's socialism. That's communism.
Yes.
And that's what we've seen not be a good idea in China. We were all in horror watching the apocalypse happen in China. People were dropping in the streets. Everybody saw that. And then we saw it, the wave spread across Italy to France to Spain and then to our country. And you know, the strategy they were using is the same strategy they're still recommending and now fining people possibly for not wearing a mask and social distancing. That strategy didn't work in any of those places, but we have some winning strategies that are working in other parts of the world.
Well, the other question is, would there be a need for a vaccine then?
No. And is there a need for a vaccine right now with the same pandemic in Taiwan and Japan, in Singapore and Iceland? Iceland's only had 10 die during this whole pandemic. Right. And so let's talk about the vaccine for a second, Debbie.
Yeah.
This is information people need to know. This is a rapidly mutating virus. In Iceland, they broke it down, the DNA of the virus, and they found 243 mutations already. And that was in April. But that's all right. We have an answer for it. There's several ways to treat this. I'm not scared of COVID anymore. Nobody else should be scared of COVID either.
I would not either. Go ahead.
You should not be scared of COVID anymore. I'm telling you, don't be scared of COVID. There are some ways to treat it. If your doctor won't treat you, find another doctor. But we're in America, and there is a solution. There's several solutions for this. I'm talking about one of them. Rapidly mutating virus. A vaccine's not going to be the solution. This is a coronavirus. It goes around every year, the common cold. We get flu vaccines every year, and at best it covers 40%. And so that's not a 100% success rate, and you have to get it every year. If they're going to make this vaccine, it's not going to be a one-time shot
That was my
that will
last
cure
question.
you. And
Yes.
by the way, the people like Anthony Fauci and Birx who brag that they've been working on a vaccine for AIDS for 40 years, and they have not been successful because
Right.
it's a rapidly mutating virus, parallel to what we have now. So misinformation is out there being sent to doctors right now that we're not worried about a vaccine being made because this isn't changing much. The fact is that they're not going to get, unless they do some research, 243 mutations in a study in Iceland already. And so you're not going to be able to get a handle on this and make a safe, effective vaccine. Let's talk about vaccines in general, Debbie. When they had the race for the polio vaccine,
Yeah.
Polio, An American Story, is a book that's out in 2005. The author was our keynote speaker for the Texas Medical Association, and he explained that thousands died from the vaccine, and tens of thousands were paralyzed or debilitated from the vaccine.
Yep.
We don't want to speed at warp speed towards a vaccine and force it on the American people when we don't, first of all, don't need it, and secondly, we need to make sure we don't miss any of the steps that prove that it's safe. And the beautiful thing about the treatment that I'm using is that no matter how many times it mutates, it's universally going to work because
Yes.
it decreases the inflammation. It's a respiratory anti-inflammatory solution for a respiratory inflammatory problem. And I've had people go through many adventures. Each person's COVID story is different. But thank you, Jesus, all of them have lived. None of them have died. And I am ecstatic. I would think that any American
Everyone should be
person would be
ecstatic. Yes.
excited about it.